Hi everyone, Xrush is here. Today I want to show you some basic theory about photomanipulation that helped me quite a lot in creating more beautiful images. So basically when we are working with Photoshop, we are basically manipulating light. You can imagine when you are taking a photo, you as a photographer, the only thing what you're actually doing is taking the light into your lens and then save that light, right? And also professional photographer, what he does is nothing else than doing some setup and setting up different light sources and so on, what will help him to create a much nicer image. So in Photoshop it's quite the same, except that you have some more tools that you can use, but at the end you're still just working with light. So what can you do with light? So light has different properties. Basically you have hue, saturation and lightness, but as well you have opacity and the direction of light, and all these things give you at the end a certain pixel that has this certain property. And then these pixels, you combine them, and of the combination you at the end have a picture. So now when you create photo manipulations or surreal designs and so on, there can be things that do not match up so well together, and normally it's just one of these properties that is set wrong, or the combination of pixels that are not matching up that well. So let me show you what I mean. So recently I created this image from pictures that I got from Pixabay, and when you combine a lot of different images here and there, you have to tune exactly these properties that they will merge well together. So for example, we have here this temple, and you see the actual layer where the temple is on is this layer here, and then I have a lot of adjustments that I'm doing on this temple so it will match with its surroundings. So for example, here you see I have a layer where I darken some parts of the layer. Maybe show that to you. So here you see it's basically a gray layer, and I just do some slight changes where I do it a little bit more lighter and darker, and this already creates a different effect than without it. Then I do some color balance, because here this part was more blue than the rest of the image, so I changed it so it will match up with the rest of the temple. Then the whole temple itself, the image was more blue than what I wanted to have it in the combination. So I did a color balance on that whole temple, so it looks more reddish or orange. And as well the brightness and the contrast. So it was not bright enough, and also the contrast is more or less, you can say as well, a combination of the colors. So when you have surroundings that have a high contrast, and you have, for example, an image like this that doesn't have that much contrast, it doesn't fit in. So this can also be something that is off on your image. So when we look at the whole picture, as you see, I have a lot of it's actually only 4 different images, but I have a lot of these layers to adjust the light and the color of the various images so that they blend in together. Maybe shortly 2 techniques for that I like to use. So first is using a gray layer. So what you can do is just hit Ctrl A to select the whole picture. Then with the marking tool you do a right click and choose fill, and here you can do 50% gray. And when you now just use overlay, then nothing happens. But on this layer what you can do, you can adjust with the burn and dodge tool how it will affect the below layers. For example, let's say I want this part here darker, then I just go and paint that over here and it gets darker. Or I want it lighter, then I take the dodge tool and do the same. So nice thing about that is that you can change the opacity, and you can change as well the blend mode. So for example, to lighten, oh no, that's very bad, let's use soft light, that's much better. And like this you can do quite fast changes of your brightness and darkness, what helps a lot in working with shadows. So often what I also do is that to get it a little bit more soft, I take blur, Gaussian blur, just do that a little bit softer. Okay, so this is one technique, especially with light and shadows. Always look at where does your light come from. For example, here on this volcano I have some lights here. Let me check, I think that's here. Yes, exactly. So the light is coming from the back, and I just did some light rays here, some nice sunbeams, so that it matches up in the whole scenery. Another good thing is when you're done with your whole image, or you taking in a new image, what you can do is use Open As, here file Open As, and then you can use Open As Camera Raw, and this is basically the editor for Camera Raw files, but you can also open other pictures, and it's quite powerful. So the nice thing here is that you can change the different things like shadows or blacks or whites, or even reds or blues and so on, distinct from each other. For example, here if I say okay, I need more shadows, I just use that slider, and it's super fast to work with nice with the certain areas of the picture. Also here you have this adjustment brush tool, so here you have also more or less the same things. Let's say we use more clarity, and then you can just brush over the parts that you want to change, and you can even overlay these adjustments. For example, let's say new and take some blue here, and super fast everything combines together, and will also be saved for that image. To go back, you just use this hand tool or so. Oh yeah, sharpness is also something that can be different on various images. For example, if you have a background that is not as sharp as, for example, your floating island, then it also doesn't match so well together. So you can change that in filter, sharpen, for example, smart sharpen. Now I lost my red line. Oh yeah. As well, here in the camera raw tool you can change the more or less color ranges, and that's really nice to change the overall scenery a little bit. For example, if I say, okay, my yellow is not the yellow that I want, maybe I want it more orange, then I can change all the yellows in one go. Or I need other reds, like darker reds. Then as well, saturation and luminance, you can just influence it quite easily. Okay, so that's more or less the two tools that I really like, and all the other adjustment layers, I won't go into that. I hope you already know them. Just to go back to that one, so we are working with light. If something does not match up together, just check what is it. Is it the hue? Is it the saturation? Is it the lightness, opacity, direction, sharpness, the combination of pixels, contrast, and so on. Just check what is off and then try to match it up together. Okay, I will link the pictures that I've used for creating that one in the description, so that you can play around with it if you want. And yeah, if you want to see more, just follow me or hit that like button. Thanks, and see you again.